William Hague promised immediate legislation to reject the treaty if it had not yet been ratified by the whole of the EU. Now, it's not hard to work out what caused this wonderful conversion. The 4th of June was looming. The campaign for the EU elections was just about to begin, and the lessons from the polls were at last sinking in. But it's hard to get rid of bad habits. The commitment to a referendum, if Lisbon was not law, was fine. But what about the more likely situation, that Lisbon is already law when they get in, if they do? Back we go, I'm sad to tell you, to the weasel words. William Hague left open the door to the possibility of the Tories promising a referendum in their general election manifesto, even if the treaty had been ratified by everybody. Well, leaving open a possibility is not that reassuring, particularly as it's 3.5 years since David Cameron promised to lead the European People's Party, a pledge he restated immediately after his election as leader. He still hasn't done it. How long will he take making up his mind about this possibility? This very morning, I don't know if you listened to the Today programme, he again was asked the question, and he again ducked it. Let's face it, the Tories have not the slightest intention of calling a retrospective referendum on Lisbon. They simply hope that the weasel words which they have used will sound tough, so that they may not lose too many votes on the 4th of June. Now, I've tried in, I suppose, a very unusual way to force the Tories to give, to use their own expression, a cast-iron guarantee that they will call a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty, whatever the situation when they come to power, if they do. I have offered to bet £100,000 that if the Tories simply go on repeating what they have already said, stuff like, so we shall have a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty, they will not, in fact, call a referendum within 12 months if Lisbon's already law when they come to power. Now, the best result, at any rate for those who think like us, would be for them to give us the promise we want, i.e. we'll have a referendum whatever happens. But if they won't do that, and if they don't accept the bet, it's absolutely obvious, and hopefully should be obvious to the voters, that they're not in fact going to give it to us, that referendum. People have asked me, since my donation to UKIP, why I didn't stay within the Conservative Party and use, as they put it, my influence. Well, at one time, I did have some sort of influence. I might even say I was subjected to what they call a charm offensive. Would I like to have lunch with Shadow Minister X? Would I pop in for a discussion with Shadow Minister Y? Would I like to go and see William Hague to discuss Europe? The reason, of course, had nothing to do with what they thought about my views. It was to make me unlikely, as they thought, to say something awkward for the Conservatives, or, God forbid, to support UKIP. I can't resist one final point about that Daily Telegraph interview. William Hague asked for a protest vote. Well, voting toward it would not be a protest. They are, or at any rate they were at that time, miles ahead in the polls. So he must have meant vote UKIP. Obviously he too will soon be expelled. Welcome to the club, William. Well, I've had a bit of a go at the Tories, so let me make it quite clear. First, I'm not at all bitter, I'm really not, about their decision to expel me. It was quite understandable. And secondly, that I do hope they'll win the general election. But it's entirely in their hands whether they get the support of people like me. All they have to do to benefit both the country and themselves is to give that guarantee of a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty, and they will, in my confident opinion, win the general election in a trump. I just don't understand why they don't do it. Let me make, lastly, one final point. It may be said that I am being disloyal to the Conservative Party. My answer to that is quite simple. A person cannot have two masters, and for me, my loyalty is to the country, not to a party.